Hello everybody, and welcome to this video where I'm going to be taking a look at the light novels that are going to be coming out in January of 2018. Thankfully, after the flood of light novels in December, we get a little bit of a break in January. I mean, I don't think we're ever going to go back to the days where we have less than 10 light novels releasing in any given month. In January, we have 13 titles releasing. 2 of those are actually holdovers from December. They got delayed. So let's get right into it. I guess the other thing to tell you is that the usual format of this series is to read any blurbs from the back covers of any volume 1s while I do this. Then I leave blurbs for the later volumes at the end of the video, just so there's no spoilers. Now, this month, we only have the 2 standalone books that were held over from December. Everything else are all ongoing series, so really we don't have a lot of new volume 1s, new series starting this month, which is not so bad since we had numerous ones in December. So like I said, January kind of feels like a bit of a catch-up month, if anything. On January 4th, 2018, coming from J Novel Club, we have volume 8.5 of Invaders of the Rokujouma. Now, I read the first volume of this series. I thought it was pretty cute, but at this point, I am so far behind, I don't know if I'll ever get back into this series, because it just seems overwhelming to try and catch up. This is the 10th volume already that J Novel Club has released of this series. They're pretty much pumping these out one a month. It was kind of an interesting sort of thing. They licensed the series, and they are basically doing polishing versions of the original fan translation. They actually hired the fan translator to continue translating the newer volumes, because this series is still releasing in Japan. I think it's, what's it up to now? Volume 27 or something? The most recent volume just released and was on the top 10 list. So, I mean, they're into the mid to high 20s in that series, and it's still ongoing in Japan. J Novel Club releases the most recent volumes on their website for their members, and then they just keep releasing these sort of older volumes one at a time, basically every month. So it's been a series that's proved almost impossible for me to keep up with, but I have heard a lot of good things from other reviewers about it, which kind of makes me a little sad that I haven't kept up with it, but it's just beyond me, honestly. I gotta be honest. January 5th, 2018, also from J Novel Club, volume number 6 of In Another World with My Smartphone. Now this one, the anime just finished. I'm not too sure how many volumes the anime covered. I'm actually, funny enough, just asked somebody that just so I can start including that in this discussion. I've only read the first 2 volumes. Again, a series that I've fallen behind on. It's cute. It's very much like a heart on its sleeve. It seems to just have no problem going completely off the rails and just kind of, it's almost like a kitchen sink isekai. Like, you know, it's involved a guy making bikes, making this, making that. And as far as I understand it, I think like even mecha get involved in this whole thing. Like, it's just all over the place. It's kind of like that OP isekai type series taken to the nth degree, and yet is just kind of lighthearted for the whole thing. I mean, I don't know. I couldn't hate on the series just because it was just so nonchalant and hard on its sleeve about everything. But yeah, it just, I don't think it's going to be for everybody. That's for sure. I don't know if I'm going to keep reading that series. It's one of those ones that every time I see a new volume come out, I'm like, you know, I'd kind of like to read that and just kind of keep up with it just because it was fun, you know, it was fluffy. It didn't, you know, one of those nice reads to have when you don't feel like, you know, getting bogged down and you need a break from the world. On January 6th of 2018, we have from J Novel Club. J Novel Club kind of owns the beginning of January, really. We have the standalone novel, which was held over from December, and that is Ao Oni. Shun is the new kid in school, but he's already managed to attract the attention of the school bully, who's now making his life a living hell. It doesn't seem like things could get any worse, until the night he finds himself and a group of his classmates inside a creepy, abandoned mansion known as the jailhouse. They quickly start to hear strange sounds and see weird things, but everything escalates when they realize they can't get out. Once they're trapped inside, a blue, unnaturally large figure chases after them. Is it a new species? Or is it the ghost of their old classmate who died in an accident? Nobody knows, but one thing is for certain. If it catches them, they're dead. The scariest game of tag in history begins. Now this one has had sort of like an ongoing thing. There's anime, there's well, I don't know if there's an anime. I know there's a live action movie. There is also a video game. So it's kind of like a multimedia type series. I'm not too sure what the original thing of this series was. If you're familiar with it, feel free to leave that in the comments down below. But again, this is one that was supposed to be out last month, but got delayed. On January 7th, 2018, also from J Novel Club, and also a title that was delayed from December, and that is Yume Nikki, I Am Not in Your Dream. This one also based on a pretty famous indie video game. The novelization of Yume Nikki follows a lonesome girl into the bizarre dreamscapes that await her when she falls asleep. Opening doors and wandering aimlessly, is she really alone as she thinks? And you know what? I'm looking forward to this. It sounds like it's going to be very different from a lot of other kind of light novels that we have. And just reading up on the game, I've never actually played it, but reading up on the game, just, you know, some of these indie games that are like these underground hits and stuff, I just find them so fascinating. Like, you know, it kind of makes me a little jealous. Like it's the kind of thing where I'm like, you know, if I could program and I could create, yeah, pipe dreams. But still, really, really cool sounding. And I've heard from a few people that it's a bit of a head trip, this book. So I'm looking forward to checking that one out. On January 9th, J Novel Club. This is getting to be pretty much a trend, right? We have volume number 4 of Infinite Dendrogram. I am currently reading volume 3. I've finished the main story of volume 3. I'm still working on there's like 2 larger sort of side stories that supposedly feed into the events in volume number 4. So I should have that review out hopefully tomorrow or sometime this week. It'll definitely be out. A series that I actually have found very surprising in terms of how much I've enjoyed it. I kind of admit I rolled my eyes a little bit when I saw we were getting another series that was a virtual reality MMORPG based type series, but it has had enough sort of interesting events and such that it's really kind of hooked me in and has made me curious about where the series is going. So it's probably one of those VRMMO type light novels that I would recommend. I'd probably recommend over some of the other ones that we have heard of or have had released. It's really well done, actually. It's fairly well written too. So one that I would recommend. So that is coming out on January 9th. On January 10th, from J Novel Club, If It's For My Daughter, I'd Even Defeat a Demon Lord, volume number 4. I have not read volume 3 yet. Funny enough, I have it on my iPad here. It'll probably be one that I read hopefully very soon, hopefully before January 10th. I've been keeping up with that series, at least up to this point. It is a very, very cute sort of slice of life type series set in a fantasy setting about a little demon girl a devil girl who is adopted by an adventurer. And it's just kind of about how she sort of discovers the world and about her life. I will read volume 4's description later in the video. It makes it sound like this series might be headed for something creepy. I'm really hoping it doesn't go that way. Really hoping, because up to this point, it's been sweet and it's been approachable and it's been a series that I could recommend to people. If it goes to where volume 4 suggests it might go, I don't know whether I'll feel the same way about it. We'll see. We'll see. Fingers crossed. On January 18th, hey, look at that. We actually get a break for a couple of days. On January 18th, from J Novel Club, volume number 6 of Paying to Win in a VRMMO. Now, I have only read the first volume of this series, and I'm going to admit I probably am not really going to read any more of it. It was not a bad book. In fact, in terms of a series taking a look at the conflict between those who play games without using money transactions, so they grind, compared to those who are like whales that used all their money to try and basically break the game. It was kind of an interesting take and certainly a bit different. It's not really something that we've seen in a lot of these books. It's not like we really haven't seen that. Usually these books all seem to sort of put all the players on a level playing field in terms of monetary transactions. But this one takes a look at it in a slightly different way. Now, again, I didn't mind the first volume. I thought it was pretty decent, but it wasn't one of those series when I have to make a choice about what I'm reading, because like I'm looking at this stack of 16 books that I need to read. Thank you very much, December, and well, part of November I think is still in there. You know what? It's just not one of those series that grab me so much that I'm going to continue with, but certainly I can see some appeal to it, and I can see where like I said, like it does take sort of a different take on that whole thing. It has it seems to be unique. I haven't seen anything like that anywhere else. On January 28th, also from J Novel Club, volume number 7 of Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash. Now, of course, this is sort of the really dark and gritty isekai series about a group of people that are forced into this fantasy world and become adventurers in order to survive. I really liked volume number 1. I actually have purchased volume 2 in a physical format to read. I'm hoping to get to that very soon. And I think that physical releases, they're only up to, I think, volume 4. So I'm kind of just paying attention to the physical releases because I don't feel as I'm far behind on those ones. But if you have been keeping up ebook wise, of course, volume number 7 coming out in January. It was a really good, like the first book was really good. I liked that it gave some serious weight to the characters and their feelings, and it didn't shy away from the fact that, you know what, getting summoned to a world doesn't automatically mean you're so OP and super powered and everything's going to work out great. Like it was a very, very different feeling book from a lot of the other isekai novels that we've gotten. And yeah, I mean, it's something that I really recommend to people if they're looking for something, but it is darker. It does actually deal with characters and their deaths and stuff like that. So if you don't really want that kind of thing, then definitely it's something to avoid. But if you like that sort of bit more, well, real take on things, then it's definitely a series to check out. Now on January 30th, we get Yen On's releases. They've only got 4 books coming out this month, which is quite a break from, I think they had, what, 12 or more in December. And like I said, they are ongoing series now. One that I won't mention, I won't read the blurb from because I don't want to get wrapped up in the whole trying to keep track of what's digital and what's physical and everything else with Yen On. But I did mention in December, volume number 1 of Kieli, which is one of Yen On's older series released on ebook. Now, I really want to read that book. I'm going to be reviewing it. They are releasing a couple more volumes in ebook in January. Then they'll be releasing, I think, some more in February and so forth. They're doing like 2 or 3 volumes a month until the series is complete and caught up. It sounds like a really cool series. You can go back and watch my December video if you want to sort of see my take on the first volume. And I'm going to be reviewing the first volume sometime this month. So yeah, just so your heads up, if you pick that one up, there will be more released on ebook in January as well. Now in physical format, they will be releasing on January 30th. First, volume number 4 of Death March to the Parallel World Rhapsody. Now, funny enough, this one's getting an anime in January, and what is the premiere date? It's like in the first week and a half of January. I think it's January 11th, or it's in that area. So it's getting an anime. I don't know how many volumes the anime will cover. My guess is that we'll cover at least the first 4 volumes. So if you want to be caught up, I guess, well, yeah, probably the first couple episodes will cover the first few volumes. So if you grab this one right on January 30th and read it, you may very well be able to watch the whole anime without spoilers. It is, you know what, the first volume, I thought was enjoyable enough, but again, it was one of those series that wasn't doing anything too different that made me go, oh, I totally want to keep up with this series. It was like an OP main character who really just wanted to kind of explore and tour the world. It reminded me a lot of In Another World with my smartphone, only A, it didn't have the smartphone mechanic, obviously, and B, it seemed to want to take itself a little bit more seriously. And I guess to me, that just didn't quite come across as something that grabbed me. It's one of those series, though, that I keep thinking to myself, like, maybe I should at least pick up the second volume and give it a try and see if I feel differently. You know, it's still very popular in Japan. Volume 12 has actually spent a couple weeks. When I do my weekly top 10 bestsellers list, it's been on there for the past couple weeks. So, I mean, it's popular in Japan, popular enough that it's now spawning an anime. So I'm waffling about whether I should pick up the next volume or not. It's one of those series, though, like I said, the first one, it was good, but it didn't like grab me and go, oh my God, I have to know what happens next. Yeah, I think that's probably the most fair way to put it. Also on January 30th from Yen On, we have volume number 4 of My Youth Romantic Comedy Is Wrong As I Expected. Now this is a series that I've been keeping up with, that I have reviewed all 3 of the previously released volumes. It's like one of the only pure slice of life type books that we have, you know, really just focusing on a bunch of, I mean, admittedly somewhat socially dysfunctional individuals, but nonetheless, it is just one of those series that I find I really enjoy. All the characters are very unique. The main character, Hachiman, it's told from his first person perspective, is a very sarcastic individual, but yet there's just this underlying tone of tragedy to that series that I can't let go of. And yeah, and like I said, I think maybe too, just because it is one of the only pure slice of life books that we have, just makes it feel so different from everything else that I'm reading, that I think that's one of the other reasons that I find I just really, really enjoy it. And like I said, the characters are very unique and very different. So definitely a series that I recommend if you like the slice of life genre. And like I said, it's basically the only one I can recommend if you like that genre. So Now, also releasing on January 30th from Yen On, we have volume number 6 of Overlord. Now, anybody who watches this series regularly knows that this is one of my favorite series. This is actually part 2 of the storyline that started in volume number 5. What's it called? The Old Men of the City, or The Men of the Kingdom. Helps to read it right behind me. So this is part 2 of that storyline. The first volume of this, like volume number 5, the first part of this storyline was just awesome. It was such a good volume. I loved it. So I'm really, really looking forward to volume number 6. Finally, from Yen on January 30th, we have volume number 8 of Strike the Blood. Now, I do have volume 7, and I'm very interested to read volume 7 because it finally gives us kind of the story about what the heck has been going on in this series. You know, my main complaint about Strike the Blood has been that the series has felt very much like a one-note type series, like bad guy arrives, Kojo fights him, fails, Kojo bites some girl, Kojo gets more powerful, Kojo wins. Yeah, like it's kind of seemed like it's basically been that same story over and over again. But it sounds like volume 7 changes things up again. I'm hoping because of the events of volume 7 that it'll sort of change the series a bit. I guess I'll have to see. Like I said, I've got volume 7, and based on what people have been saying about it, I figure I will probably be definitely picking up at least volume 8 to see sort of where the series goes from there. But it's, like I said, it's one of those series that I've liked well enough. It's just, unfortunately, has felt like the same thing over and over, and I'm kind of hoping that it breaks that mold a bit, but only time will tell on that one. Finally, on January 30th, from Vertical, we have the next book in the Monogatari series, and that is Neko Monogatari White. Now, I'm kind of interested to check this out because this one supposedly is where the series kind of changes a bit. Araragi has been the first-person narrator for all of the Monogatari books up to this point, but this book now changes it, that we have Hanakawa now being the first-person narrator. So I'm really curious to see how, in particular, Araragi looks like as a character when told from someone else's point of view. So this one I'm kind of excited for. I've liked the series up to date. I do actually have Neko Monogatari Black that I'm going to be reviewing before this comes out, obviously. So I've enjoyed the series to date, but like I said, I'm very kind of excited to start getting into the series with different narrators and seeing the events from a different point of view and seeing all the characters from a different point of view. I'm very curious to see sort of how this all plays out. And some of you have hinted that that even Araragi can be seen as a bit of a different character once we're seeing him from other people's points of view. So very, very curious and excited to check that one out. So those are all of the releases coming out in January of 2018. I will be reading all of the blurbs from the back of their covers, well, except for our Oni and Yume Nikki. So I'll be doing that next. So if you want to avoid spoilers, you don't have to watch the rest of the video. Or if there's a specific one you do want to see, I do have timestamps in the description next to the title, so you can just skip there and avoid any other spoilers. If you want to pre-order any of these books, I do have links to Amazon.com as well as the book depository for all of the physical books. For the ebook only releases, I've just got links to Amazon.com. These are affiliate links that help out the channel, so I really appreciate you using them. And like I said, it's easy for you because you can figure out where you want to buy them. So I'm going to go ahead and read the blurbs now for the volumes. If you want to skip along, you can. If you don't care, feel free to keep on watching. So back to January 4th, 2018, Invaders of the Rokujouma, Volume 8.5. With the Civil War now in full swing, Alaya and her allies mount a resistance to try and retake their beloved country. History seems to be unfolding all according to the legend, except for one major problem. The Blue Knight is still missing. In his stead, Kotaro and clan find themselves in the center of the chaos, trying to keep history from going too far off the rails so they can eventually get back home to their own place and time. Will they be able to save Forthorth and themselves? January 5th, 2018, In Another World with My Smartphone, Volume Number 6. 16-year-old Mochizuki Toya continues everyday life in his new world, well aware that it could all come tumbling down at any moment. He's the budding administrator of Babylon, the fledgling Grand Duke of Brunhild, and now he's a mecha pilot? Desperate to find a way to halt the incoming Frey's onslaught, Toya makes a mad dash for the hangar of Babylon, hoping it can give him the edge he needs. What he finds is the Frame Gear, an ancient humanoid fighting machine. Join Toya and his ever-growing band of wives as they tap into their mechanical sides. All systems stand by for a tale of swords, sorcery, and oversized wrenches. Just as a side note, notice that they say he has multiple wives. I guess Toya got himself officially hitched to his harem. On January 9th, 2018, Infinite Dendrogram, Volume Number 4. The city of Duels is suddenly besieged by one of the Drife Imperium's superiors, Mr. Franklin, the Giga Professor. Both admirably cunning and incorrigibly heinous, the sadistic scientist sets his sights on throwing Gideon into utter pandemonium. As luck would have it, Ray, Marie, and Rook are caught right in the middle of his malicious machinations. Though outmatched, outnumbered, and outsmarted, the knights and masters of the Kingdom of Altar don't hesitate to retaliate. They have the spirit, no doubt, but will it be enough to defeat the mastermind of Franklin's game? January 10th. If it's for my daughter, I'd even defeat a Demon Lord, Volume Number 4. I've never thought of you as a replacement for my father. After Latina tells him about her real feelings on the night of the Amar festival, Dale is driven into a deep depression by his beloved daughter's rebellious phase. It takes a talk with his big bro Kenneth for him to see what her words really mean. But how will he respond? To make matters even more complicated, Latina receives a confession of love from Rudolph, her childhood friend. Love is hard, but this is getting out of hand. Whatever happens, though, one thing is sure. The relationship between guardian and adoptive daughter is going to change in a big way, and there's no turning back. Do you see what I mean when I say this could get creepy? I'm just saying. Do you see? January 18th, 2018, Pain to Win in a VRMMO Volume 6. The account hack has been resolved, but the fallout isn't over. Pony Entertainment has begun to sink its hooks into narrow fantasy online, threatening the Thistle Corporation's independence. When Ichiro himself is arrested for unauthorized access of the company's servers, he finds himself in a dilemma that even money can't solve. January 28th, 2018, Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash, Volume 7. Having escaped the Dusk Realm, Haruhiro and the party enter another world that is not Grimgar, one where the sun never rises. Even with no information to go on, Haruhiro still must lead his comrades. Fortunately, they discover a town where the residents of this new world live, and they are able to secure their safety for the time being. However, the environment is harsh, and there are still a mountain of problems left to deal with. What's more, they have no leads on the all-important method for returning to Grimgar. They question whether they will be able to go home, and if the real home that sometimes flashes through their minds is actually someplace all other entirely. With many feelings in their hearts, Haruhiro and the others proceed to explore the new world. As they wander through the ashes, what lies ahead for them? January 30th, 2018, Volume 4 of Death March to the Parallel World Rhapsody. When Sato and his party cross into the famously unsafe Muno Barony, they find ramshackle villages, fortresses inhabited by the souls of the dead, and all manner of unrest. Amid the chaos, Sato meets a girl who happens to be the Baron's daughter, and stumbles across a conspiracy. January 30th, 2018, Volume 4, My Youth Romantic Comedy is Wrong as I Expected. It's summer break, and Hachiman is continuing his leisurely life of solitude, until Miss Hiratsuku forces the service club back together to volunteer at a campground. For some reason, Hayama, Miura, and their crew of normies are there too. Thus begins a compulsory, youthful season of fireworks, tests of courage, nighttime conversations, and bathhouse incidents, with no escape for Hachiman. Summer is indeed a minefield for the loner. January 30th, 2018, Volume 6 of Overlord. After weathering several setbacks and attacks, the Eight Fingers criminal organization is not about to simply sit back and watch quietly. To retaliate, they've dispatched the infamously brutal enforcers, the Six Arms. Rushing out to meet them in battle is the adamantite rank adventurer party, the Blue Roses, led by Lachius herself. January 30th, 2018, Volume 8 of Strike the Blood. When Kojo Akatsuki went to visit his sister in the hospital in middle school, he met a vampire named Aurora. Once he learned she was the key to saving Nagisa's life, he helped Aurora escape. Now, the weapons dealer Zacharias is telling him to hand over Aurora in order to rouse the fourth primogenitor. As Zacharias' plans plunge Itogami Island into peril, the fourth primogenitor finally awakens. Finally, January 30th, 2018, Neko Monogatari White. Officially the start of Monogatari's second arc, Neko Monogatari White is written in Hanakawa's perspective. It is the first story in the series that's told from a different perspective than Araragi. After months since her last time turning into black Hanakawa, Hanakawa finds a new oddity problem in the form of a white tiger that burns down buildings she had slept in the night before. The tiger is an oddity Hanakawa accidentally produced herself after years of domestic abuse that kept her from having her own room. And those are all the light novels releasing in January 30th, 2018. Thank you so much for keeping up with this video series. Again, if you want to purchase any of these, I do have links in the description down below, and I'll be back later on in January to go over the light novels releasing in February of 2018. So if you're new to the channel and you love light novels, you should consider subscribing. I do a weekly countdown of the top 10 best-selling light novels in Japan, as well as reviews of 2 to 3 light novels every single week. Thank you so much for joining me in this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Till then, bye-bye for now.